Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Southeast Media Sunrise, dedicated to giving a voice to authors of all genres. I'm your host, Jodi Hockinson. Joining us remotely by phone today is Karen. And listen, Karen is a master financial coach, public speaker, entrepreneur, and author who has coached people with a variety of money issues, from $500 in debt to $800,000 in debt. She has coached folks with up to 86 credit cards and taught them how to pay down and pay off those credit cards in record time. Karen's mission is to inspire others to rid themselves of debt and build wealth. She encourages others to break the shackles of debt and gives valuable insight into building wealth so they can experience financial freedom. Her #1 Amazon best-selling book, Money Matters, is a discovery for many. This book is not only motivational, but practical. She is an avid real estate investor who enjoys buying, selling, and flipping properties. She has even bought properties for as little as $10 and turned a few dollars into thousands. In Money Matters, she provides keys to demolishing debt, shares how to budget correctly, and gives principles in wealth building. Welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much, Jodi. It's my pleasure to be on here with you.
So tell me, what do you think is the #1 thing people need to do to take control of their money?
The #1 thing for people to control their money is budget. And I know sometimes that word budget has a real negative connotation to it, almost like a four-letter word. But a budget, properly done, actually empowers the person or the people, because a budget is telling your money what you want it to do instead of wondering where it went.
So how did we get so far into debt?
I think because over the years when the first credit card came on the scene, it's almost now today, people cannot see themselves purchasing something with money in their hand. It's almost like we're so used to going into debt for a car or a house or other purchases. It's sometimes when we hear a myth long enough, we end up believing it, or it's taken as truth. So I think sometimes we've watched TV, we've listened to commercials, and it's just, we're inundated with debt. That mindset that to buy something, we have to go into debt for it. I think that's how we got here.
How do we demolish debt?
Well, that's a very good question, Jodi. First of all, we have to own and acknowledge what debt we have. I coached a couple one time. Actually, it was the couple that had 86 credit cards. We sat down and I asked a variety of questions. And long story short, I said, "Is there anything else?" And she said, "Well, I actually have some credit cards that he doesn't know about." And then he said, "I have some credit cards that she doesn't know about." So all in all, they had 86 credit cards. So #1 thing to do when you're trying to demolish debt, you've got to acknowledge and own the debt that you have. Don't try to hide it. Don't try to hide it from yourself, because we can't fix something that we don't acknowledge. So we need to acknowledge what debts we have, how much we have, and then we list them. We list them from smallest to largest. And let's say the smallest debt you have is a credit card of, say, $100 balance. And your credit card payment is, say, $50 a month. Well, you pay off that credit card, you make all of your minimum payments that you do now, but when that lowest debt is gone, that $100 credit card balance is gone, now you don't have a $50 a month payment to make. Instead of pocketing that money or spending that money, now what you want to do is you want to apply that $50 payment along with the next minimum payment to the next debt. Hence, it's called a debt snowball. And you do that with each debt. As soon as you annihilate and get rid of one of those debts, the payment that you no longer have gets applied to the next debt, so that it builds momentum and you're able to pay off those debts much more quickly.
That sounds like one way for people to cut their credit card debt. What are some other ways for people to cut their credit card debt?
Well, another way, which I don't tell this to a whole lot of people, but if you have a large credit card balance, and let's say the interest rate is just eating it. I mean, you never seem to get ahead on it. What sometimes people will do is they'll do a transfer balance from that particular card to a 0% balance to another card. And sometimes you can Google and search online. Some credit card companies will offer 0% interest for 12 months or even up to 18 months. Now, mind you, once that 12 months or that 18 months is gone, the interest rate is going to come back. So you kind of need to do it and be motivated to pay that balance off within that designated period of time. That way, every time you make a payment, it's all going towards the balance of the card instead of towards interest on the card.
What's your opinion about student loans?
Well, I for one do not like student loans. I think that if a person plans on going to college, they need to have some money saved up, but there are extenuating circumstances that a person wants to go to college, but they don't have any grants and they don't have any money saved up. That might have to happen. But what I recommend is, out of state colleges are much more expensive. So if you don't have to, I would recommend that you don't get a student loan and that the student at least take a part-time job anywhere between 15 and 20 hours a week. Now, sometimes parents have said to me, Karen, I want them to study. I don't want them to work. And I understand that concept. However, there have been studies done that college students that actually work a part-time job while they're in college actually end up with a higher grade point average because they're learning how to manage their time. They're learning how to study in their free time, that kind of a thing. And they don't really decrease their socialization because they're talking with people, they're working with people on the job. So I recommend that you don't take a student loan out, that you work a part-time job while you're in college, and stay in state at least for the first year, because a lot of times the first year you're just getting your basic courses anyway, and that will help decrease the amount of money it's going to cost you at least that first year.
Say the student loans either aren't possible or they've decided not to take out a student loan. How can a person pay for college?
If student loans are not a possibility, then I say get a job. Get a job. If you're still in high school and you plan on going to college and you're not going to take a student loan out and you don't have the money, get a part-time job. And then in the summer months that you're not in school, full-time job. Do what you can and then, uh, can all you get and guard the can, so to speak. So, save up the money. And it actually will benefit you in the long run because there's lots of students that go to college that have already paid it up. And when they get out of college, they don't have any student loan debt. They don't have any debt whatsoever. I coached a couple one time and they were wanting to get married. They weren't married yet. And he had over $100,000 in student loans. She had over $150,000 in student loans. So getting married, they're going to have $250,000 in debt. Bam, right off the bat. And that's not a way to really enter into marriage when you're wanting to buy a house and you're trying to get along with each other. Debt can make for some powerful money fights, so to speak. So if you can get by without having any debt, then do it.
Holy cow. So, what ended up happening with that couple?
They postponed getting married because of the debt. I mean, it's already stresses, debt is stressful. So if you're getting ready to get married and you've never been married before, you've maybe never lived with that person before, everything is new. So that's stressful in itself, you know. When the honeymoon wears off and after a couple months or 3 months or however long it is, reality sets in And you don't want to have $250,000 in debt facing you, having to make those monthly payments. That's, yeah. So they postponed it so that they could start working on their debt before they get married.
So, what ways can people cut costs?
First and foremost, if you're wanting to get out of debt and you're wanting to cut costs, number one, don't go into debt because you can't borrow your way out of debt. I coached another person one time and they had 5 or 6 credit cards and they had a car payment and they said, well, I think I want to, I think I want to take a loan out and pay off all these things. And I repeated what they said. You want to take a loan out to pay off all those. That's not the answer. Taking out more debt is not the answer. Borrowing more money is not the answer. So if you want to cut costs, take a look at your utilities by adjusting the thermostat 2 or 3 degrees in the summertime. Increase it 2 or 3 degrees while you're not in the house. You're not in the house probably anywhere between 8 and 12 hours, depending on how long your commute is on your way to work. So why cool the house or heat the house when you're not there? So increase it by 3 degrees on your air conditioning and decrease it by 3 degrees on your furnace in the wintertime so you're not heating or cooling a house when you're not there. That will help you anywhere between $20 and $25 a month, depending on where you live. Another way to cut costs is bargain shop. Sometimes people will go to Family Dollar, Dollar General. The grocery store is not the place to get your paper products or shampoos or things like that. There is a huge, huge markup in a grocery store on those items. Why? Because they're supposed to be just selling food. So toiletries, cleaning supplies, paper products, get those someplace else where they're markedly marked down and much less expensive. Another way to cut costs is I coached another couple one time. We're talking about a lot of people that I've coached, but I'm not mentioning names. But it was a husband and wife and a 3-year-old little girl. And so we sat down. They both worked full time. And I said, how much do you spend on groceries each month? They had no idea. So I said, okay, how often do you go to the grocery store? We go to the grocery store every 2 or 3 days because they did not meal plan. Number 2, they went to the restaurant. They went out to eat twice a week. And number 3, they ate at work in the cafeteria at their workplace. All said and done, they were spending $1,500 a month on food. So they decided that they wanted to stop spending $1,500 a month on food. So what they did is they planned on going to the restaurant twice a month instead of twice a week. They brown bagged their lunch every day except on Friday. Friday was kind of a treat to eat in the cafeteria. And they began meal planning. They went to the grocery store once a week instead of every 2 or 3 days, and they began meal planning. They cut their costs from $1,500 a month down to $500 a month. So groceries and restaurants and things like that, you could really cut costs. I coached another young man. He was in his 20s, and he liked his specialty coffee. So he drove through this specialty coffee place every day on his way to work. Well, that adds up. He was spending $350 a month on that specialty coffee. And I said, would you like to spend that money somewhere else? And he said, yes. So he decided instead of driving through and getting that specialty coffee every day, he would just drive through every Friday, the end of the work week. It's a special type thing to treat yourself. And I'm not against anybody eating out. I love to eat out myself. I enjoy it. I enjoy a specialty coffee. I'm an avid coffee drinker. But look and see, how often are you going there? Are you going every day? How often and how much money are you spending on it? And so those are some ways and some areas where people can really cut costs. Your utilities in your home, your groceries, the specialty coffee, and if you're not having to, I know gas is really probably not that expensive, but, sometimes you come home and then you forget, oh dear, I forgot to pick this up at the store. Then you drive back out. Well, those short little trips add up. You can see that gas gauge on your car dwindle down, and sometimes people end up spending money at a convenience store. And this is what I say, convenience costs. Because if you're getting a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread or whatever it is you're getting in a convenience store, convenience costs. Look at the price of those items in the convenience store. And I'm putting my fingers up in quotes here because convenience does cost. How many times do you go to a grocery store and you're putting your food up on that belt for the cashier to ring them up, and then you see, you know, that shelf in front of you that has gum and candy and mints and eyeglass repair kits. Those are called impulse shelves. And they call them impulse shelves because they know that American people are impulsive. And maybe we never thought about buying gum or mints or even an eyeglass repair kit, but because they're right there at the register, chances are you grab one or two of those items and put them right there because it's only $2 or $3. But see, it's not usually the big items that get us. It's all of the little items that add up. The $2 here, the $5 coffee there, the $3 here. And all of a sudden, maybe you had a $50 bill in your wallet on a Monday, and then come Friday, you look in your wallet and you've got a couple of George Washingtons in there, and for the life of you, you can't remember what happened to that money that was in my wallet. And many times it's because of those impulse purchases.
Interesting thought, and that's how that couple ended up paying $1,500 a month instead of
That's
500.
right. Yeah. Hey, listen, a budget honestly is a plan. Sometimes when I think about it, this is what I'll tell people. Do you plan on taking a vacation this year? And many times they say yes. Where are you going? And they'll tell me, do you know how you're going to get there? And of course they know. Well, this is no different. All right. You want to be debt free and you want to build wealth, and maybe you want to retire wealthy. You have your destination. That's your destination. How are you going to get there? Many times people shrug their shoulders and say, well, I don't know. Well, if you don't have a plan, you're not going to get there. Just like if you want to go to Florida for vacation, how are you going to get there? You might end up taking, a week to get to your destination if you don't have it mapped out, so to speak. So map out, make a plan. You know what your destination is to get out of debt and to build wealth. Now, how are you going to get there? Because people that fail to plan to fail. People that fail to plan to fail. Because if you don't have a plan, then you're just winging it.
So true. So we've talked about cutting
Yeah.
costs. How do we build wealth?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a multitude of ways to build wealth. First of all, no matter how old you are, whether you're 50, 40, 30, 20, 18, whatever, if you have a job, check and see if your job has a retirement plan. Do they have a 401k, 403b for teachers or hospital workers? Do they have a Roth IRA? Find out if your employer has a retirement plan, and if they do, second thing is find out if they have a match. Many times companies will say, if you put, money in this retirement plan, we will match you up to 3% or 4% or 5%. Listen, whatever the match is, that's free money. So at least do that. If they say you put 3% in, we'll match your 3% with 3%. But the ultimate goal is to get your retirement up to 15%. And sometimes that can be shocking for people to hear. But if you're at 3% or 4%, then change it. Every month or two, go up another percent. It's not going to be that much, and you won't notice it. And then in another month or two, go up another percent until you reach that 15%. Many times there's no max for you to put in at your employer. Now, they'll cap off their match, but again, that's free money, their match is. So first and foremost, a retirement plan. If your employer does not offer a retirement plan, There's lots of investment companies out there. There's Fidelity, there's Aflac, there's Edward Jones, and the list goes on and on and on. Do your due diligence and set up a retirement plan so that there can be money deposited in that retirement plan every month. And if they take it, if it's an ACH deposit from your account to their account, many times you're not going to miss it. So first and foremost, retirement. Secondly, another way to wealth build is stocks. Now, everything that I'm talking about right now, every individual still needs to do their due diligence. Don't just wing it and say, well, that sounds like a good company. Well, they might sound like a good company, but do your research. Go online, go on TD Ameritrade, or go on their particular website and see their track record. Are they a large cap stock, mid-level, or small, or penny stocks? Where are they? Where were they 5 years ago, 10 years ago, yesterday? Look at their track record and begin educating yourself on the stock market. And stocks are another great way to wealth build. I could kick myself, and I'll tell on myself now, but about 17 years ago, no, actually it was 15 years ago, I have stocks in several companies. But at that time, I decided I was going to buy some stock in Dollar General. And at that time, that stock was anywhere between $20 and $22 a share. And I got impatient. I'm a type A personality, so I want to see things happen quick, as we all do. But when it comes to stocks, you're not going to see that overnight most of the time. It takes time for those stocks to go up. Well, I held on to them for a few months, and then I thought, well, it doesn't seem to be doing anything, and I sold my shares of stock in Dollar General. Well, Dollar General stock today are at $105 a share. So, lesson learned, hold on to the stocks and be patient, because more times than not, you're not going to see that wealth build overnight. It takes time. So stocks is the second thing. And thirdly, real estate. Depending on where you live, real estate, I tell you, is so lucrative. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars in real estate. Flipping, buying, and then selling, buying them at auctions, and then just cleaning the house out, and then just reselling them for someone who wants to flip them. And there's money to be made in real estate. But then again, I want to let listeners know, always do your research. Do your due diligence. Begin reading. Grab a hold of books that are going to help you along the way, and teach yourself.
Are people always destined to have a car payment?
Absolutely not. I've heard people say, well, you're always going to have a car payment. No, you don't always have to have a car payment. Let's pretend that you have a car right now and your car payment is, say, $500 a month. Let's just pretend. And let's say you pay off that car. First of all, if you don't want a car payment, stay away from the car dealership. Because more times than not, if people say, well, I'm just going to look. No, you're not. Because that salesperson is going to lasso you in, and before you know it, you're going to leave with a new car. So just stay away from the dealership. Be happy with the car that you have. Once you pay off that car, instead of being quick and getting that car itch to trade it off and buy a new car, pretend like you still have the car payment, $500 a month. Set up a separate account, a separate savings account, and earmark it car. And every month, you put that $500 car payment in that savings account. The car that you paid off that you're still driving. And before you know it, you're going to have money in the bank in that savings account marked car. And don't buy a brand new car, because that brand new car is going to lose 60% of its value within the first 3 years. So when you buy a car and you have money saved up, do your due diligence and buy a gently used car, 1 or 2 years old. Let someone else take the depreciated value on that car If it's only a year or two old, it's surely not going to have that many miles on it, and you're not going to have to pay the new car price for it. You trade in your car, you pay for it with cash, and then you begin the process again. Just keep paying that $500 a month in that savings account marked car, and then when you're ready to trade again, then you can trade that vehicle. So no, you're not destined to always have a car payment.
Looks like we're out of time for today. Anyone interested in purchasing this book can log in to semediapro.com or visit Amazon. And for more information, you can also visit KarenFord.org. That's Karen Ford, author of Money Matters, Motivation Methods, and Manners for Increase. Thanks again for joining us today, Karen.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
And listeners, if you're interested in getting your book published, please visit us at semediapro.com and click on the book publishing link. This is Jodi Hockinson, host of Southeast Media Sunrise. Southeast Media Productions. Like us on Facebook at Southeast Media Productions, or visit our website at semediapro.com.